For hundreds of years, Taos Valley farmers have used the waters of the Rio Fernando to irrigate their farms and fields. The dam that diverts the waters of the Rio Fernando to the acequias is known as a compuerta. Acequias are a democratic system of water governance which requires water to be shared equitably among its members, the parciantes. Two systems, the Acequia Madre del Sur del Cañón and the Acequia Madre del Norte del Cañón, are fed from the Rio Fernando, supplying water to thousands of acres and hundreds of parciantes.
I'm Vicente Fernandez. I'm the mayordomo for the Acequia Madre del Sur del Cañón. I'm also a member of the Rio Fernando de Taos Collaborative. The Rio Fernando feeds 6 acequias. The major acequias that it feeds are the Acequia Madre del Sur, Acequia Madre del Norte, the Randall Pond, the Healy Romo, and several other ditches below that. There are several hundred parciantes on the Rio Fernandez. They irrigate mostly alfalfa, which is the big crop, home gardens, orchards, and some livestock. The Rio Fernando has a priority date of 1796, and we've shared water with all the other acequias according to the need. We've had to adjust our first day of irrigation back a month earlier. Normally we would start irrigating in April, now we start irrigating in March, and that's all due to climate change. And by the time June rolls around, the river's almost out of water or is out of water by late June.
From the Acequia Compuerta, the character of the Rio Fernando changes dramatically. Acequias divert water from the river and channel it across the landscape for 6 to 8 weeks each summer. Much of that water is stored for use in the Randall Reservoir. Constructed in 1905 to water hundreds of acres of fruit trees that no longer exist, the reservoir today is utilized to divert water to smaller farms and orchards and for fire suppression. As water availability decreases throughout the watershed and use increases, the river often runs dry in June and July. In light of the increasingly tangible impacts of climate change, acequia commissioners and many acequia members are brainstorming ways to find more equitable paths of sharing water. They are also seeking ways to ensure the river itself is viewed as a parciante and maintains its right to run, alive and bubbling with water, through the summer months.
Hi everybody, I'm George Fritz Hahn, the mayordomo and treasurer of the Vigili Romo Acequia and one of your Town of Taos counselors. Our water comes from way up high in the La Jara headwaters up Taos Canyon. Many of the old-timers will tell me that the Rio Fernando did used to run 12 months a year. Of course, now it doesn't. And of course, as most of you realize, we are in a long-term severe drought situation that's going to go on for a long time. We have a number of other impacts. The primary one is urbanization. We have new homes being built. We have lands that were once used for farming that are going fallow and being sold as individual properties for homes. When we have parciantes who are not using their water rights, the surface water doesn't go on their properties. When it doesn't go onto their properties, there's a lack of recharge for your deep aquifers, there's a lack of revitalization in the canopy, and obviously our springs that used to feed this river from the Presa all the way down to the Rio Pueblo, most of them are non-existent now, and it's a direct result of a lack of surface water irrigation. What is happening right now is that all of the acequias on the Rio Fernando, we met last week thanks to the Taos Valley Acequia Association's facilitation and working out a water sharing agreement. That'll bring the water all the way down here to the V-Hill, and then we'll be able to send it further down to the Jose Benito Martinez ditch just a little bit west of us here, and they'll be able to send it down even further to the Alamito. So we'll have gone a long way at extending the water season of water in the river. So we're all charged with trying to care for and increase the quantity and quality of water from La Jara Canyon at the headwaters all the way down to the Rio Pueblo. A huge hope from my perspective is the creation of this Stream Commission, and job number one for us will be to begin to discuss that there's a solution, a fair solution in the offing.
As the Rio Fernando winds its way into town, it runs up against a range of challenges. One of these comes in the community of Cañón, where an important county road runs right up against the river for several miles. The narrow, two-way road dumps sediment, pollution, and other debris into the Rio Fernando every year. Because the river is so accessible through this part of Taos, people frequently use the dried-up riverbed as a convenient dumping ground for residential trash and old appliances. The road itself is falling into the river in some places.
My name is Candace O'Donnell. I am a Taos County Commissioner in my second term, and I've been with the collaborative for a number of years. Los Pantos Road is a dirt road. As in most dirt roads that run along rivers, the main issue would be road material running into the river during times of flooding or heavy downpour. The sedimentation of the road materials causes the river to be undermined.
Another issue is accessibility. While the river in this section is theoretically accessible to walkers and bikers, the dangerous nature of Los Pantos Road prohibits the community from experiencing the river safely. Many Taos residents don't even know that the Rio Fernando runs through the center of town and therefore have not developed a relationship with the watershed. To become advocates for the watershed, first, people must develop connections to and knowledge about the river. Los Pantos Road isn't the only place street pollution enters the Rio Fernando. Stormwater runoff from parking lots, building roofs, and other streets, including the main highway through town, carry oils, grease, and toxic chemicals from motor vehicles into the river. Stormwater runoff also carries pesticides and fertilizers from lawns and gardens, viruses, bacteria, as well as nutrients from pet waste and road salts. The Rio Fernando de Taos Revitalization Collaborative is working to address these issues through green stormwater runoff plans and through community education and outreach. The collaborative is also working with civic partners to improve the situation with more progressive planning and zoning. In 2015, the Taos Land Trust purchased a 20-acre farm right in the middle of Taos and along the Rio Fernando. Over the past several years, the Land Trust has undertaken an intensive restoration project on the 7 acres of wetland running through the old farm, now known as Rio Fernando Park. Thanks to the restoration work, the Rio Fernando, often dry above the park, bubbles back to life from springs fed by groundwater. Already, beavers have returned to this portion of the Rio Fernando, and the park is known as a top birding area, gaining status as an eBird hotspot with Cornell University. Right next door to Rio Fernando Park lies Fred Baca Park, owned and operated by the town of Taos. The Rio Fernando runs lazily through the two parks, providing a rich ecological habitat. About 15 acres of Fred Baca Park are dedicated to wetland protection, making the whole complex a green jewel of healing for the Little River, right in the heart of Taos.